the parks and, I forget what the other part of her title is, but she's the parks director for the state of Montana.
Wow.
Yeah.
Should be all set.
Okay,
For her.
so do I have a,
You know what they have for parks? They have gun
Right.
ranges.
Oh,
state
boy.
gun
Of course.
ranges. I'm like, let's.
so this is Wednesday, 19 October 2022, this is a special meeting of the Water Valley Select Board. Do I have a motion to come out of non-public?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
So let us go ahead and
I'm gonna
begin.
Seal the minutes.
Oh, can we please seal the minutes
Through the end of.
through the end of the
process.
budget discussions? Thank you for reminding me, Margaret.
Mhm.
And okay, shall we move on to our first public agenda item, wastewater treatment plant discussion?
Yes, the intent of putting this on the agenda was to give you an update on the dewatering situation primarily. Do you want to explain what we're gonna do, Dylan?
Sure. So we're going to use the same method that we've always have used. We're gonna utilize the bed. There's no real easy way out of this.
So we're wasting onto the bed.
Yeah, that's the only real cost effective. We're gonna bring in an additional pump, a larger pump to help us.
So we can do it quicker.
Yeah, we originally intended on utilizing a mixer, but we aren't able to find one to help speed up the process. So what we're gonna try to do is use our pump and create like an internal cycle that'll mix up the ponds somewhat, and waste with a larger pump from there. The idea is come spring, whoever the contractor is that wins that we award bid to, that'll be part of their contract is to remove the sludge off of the drying bed. As
The
part of-
transfer station contract.
Right,
As part of.
then there'll be enough time for the waste to have
It won't
more or
be
less
as
solidified.
dry.
It won't be as,
dry.
but it'd
But
be,
that's gonna be on them to have their piece of equipment to remove it. So we'll have to pay, regardless, we're gonna have to remove it anyway.
right.
We might have to pay a little bit more based on the weight, but it'll be on them to remove it off of the.
So we can then keep to the schedule on our AOC.
Is there any benefit to have like fans or anything like that on the beds to help speed up drying out?
No, because it's in the atmosphere, it's open to the atmosphere, so the wind out there is pretty strong to begin with, and really the majority of the drying takes place with freezing temperatures, because the air is so dry, it pulls the moisture out.
Okay.
It's not a bad theory by any means, it's just, we don't, if he had structures over it to prevent the rain and stuff, then definitely it would help.
Yeah.
Or snow, snow melts another big one, it's in a low lying area, so.
Is there any chemicals you can put on it that would help the drying process?
Not really. What we could do is we could add a polymer to thicken it more, but it's not gonna make that much of a difference. I mean, you know, what we're looking at for disposal. You're probably going to reduce it by maybe 5-6% overall cost. It wouldn't be that significant. And in the amount of effort we have to put forward into adding that chemical, it would be much more cost upfront than it would save us. So.
And the other advantage to doing it this way is we've already been told that the transfer station project is a reimbursable cost.
Yes.
So we're gonna get 20% of that reimbursed,
As opposed to
So,
heating it. in our
as
own-
opposed.
So then we'll get some savings there too,
So there'll
on the
be some-
additional cost.
That's,
And do we believe that the person who constructs the transfer station will have a lower cost for taking the sludge away?
no, they may, what Dylan was saying was that they may have it may be higher. But with the 20% reimbursement, it'll probably more than break even.
What will end up happening most likely is we'll have a contract with whoever the disposal company is. It's just gonna be on the contractor to load it into the disposal
Yeah.
company's trucks.
So they'll sub,
So we'll still pay the actual disposal costs, but the physical
For
loading
yes.
will be reimbursable.
But is
That'll
that
be
gonna
part of
be
the contract.
750,000?
No,
No,
no. $750,000 was for the centrifuge. We're gonna be looking at probably 30,000, something around there to close the lagoon down. So that way we're good with the state. Probably all in cost. Again, that's what we're gonna pay about this year. Next year will be about the same cost.
Okay. So are we then gonna be able to construct the temporary station up there?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Within the same time frame.
It's good news.
It is good
Dylan
news.
brought us
Good news. Mark the calendar and time. The first time in how many years? How long have you been here?
That's not true. He brings good news once in a while.
Yeah.
Excellent.
But
All right,
that
well, so
was
the
our best.
found a solution is
Our
not as
best
dire as we were thinking
Right.
last meeting.
Excellent.
Okay. Anything else on the wastewater?
I don't,
Now we had a
Go ahead.
brief meeting on, what was that, last Friday?
last Friday.
And we got some preliminary information on what we can expect to see in the 60% draft report. So that went well. And
We're starting to identify equipment.
Yep.
By name equipment.
so there are a couple of things that I wanted to mention. So we had the engineering bureau up yesterday from BES for the wastewater side of things. And Dennis Green, who's not the head of the department, but he's really the heart of the department, if you will. He's the one that looks at all plans and approves them. We had myself and Joe Ducharme, our
Mhm.
town engineer, asked some questions about funding. So one of the things that we were concerned about is the ARPA money that had the BABA, Build America, Buy America attachment to it. We don't have to abide by that now. Our project started before the deadline for that, so we are not forced to buy American-made products.
Oh.
This is gonna reduce
That's gonna help reduce
cost
costs.
significantly.
Mhm.
Another topic of discussion that is big. We were discussing the rapid infiltration basins with that screen and groundwater discharge. And if we are serious, if we review the 60% drafts and the cost is substantially more than the town is willing to pay for or what we can afford. The state's willing to sign off on and try to approve an extension of our order of consent with the EPA to buy us time to look into that. So that way we don't get up against it because we're looking at this method.
Give us time to look at another method.
Correct. There's no guarantee that the EPA will accept it, but the state's willing to go to that.
Good, that's nice.
So,
And that's a solution that we wanna really look hard at. You still have to build the SBR, the front.
Part of
end,
it, right?
But all that tertiary treatment stuff that was in that building.
Yeah.
That goes away, and the cost of running it, which is, to
Right.
me, it's the 50-year life cycle cost because of electricity and chemicals. And if we can get out of our EPA permit, then we don't have to worry as much about the future changes in the permit limits as well.
But by that you mean
So,
we go
By going to
groundwater,
Groundwater,
not that the EPA relaxes
right, exactly, exactly.
the
Some
requirements.
say the tertiary treatment, that was the stuff that was in the building after the tank.
Yeah, the
With all the
UV lights.
computers
Yeah,
and all
Yeah,
that
the
kind of stuff.
UV lights and
Yeah.
the blowers and the
Mhm.
big blue
Right,
rectangle cube
yeah,
there.
yeah.
All of that. Plus, in addition to those things, we have to attach basically a drinking water plant after that. So we've got all those things and then an extra
well,
piece.
it would really just be, if you're referring to Whitefield, it would really just be that blue cube.
The blue cube.
Yeah,
and
the
the
iterations gonna be needed for the SBRs, UVs for disinfection.
So we're not talking about a smaller,
It would be significantly smaller.
it would be
because-
significantly smaller.
To Mark's point, what we were looking at, one of the options was the Trident system, which is essentially a packaged drinking water plant. And then one of the other main options was called the Nexum Blue Pro. It's an upflow sand filter, so it just forces water up through media. It was suspended solid. These are significantly large pieces of
They're
equipment.
huge.
So if we were looking at size wise, probably another DPW garage building. If we go with ground and discharge, we would wipe that right off. And that would be full of equipment. So this picture, a building that size loaded with equipment and scaffolding, catwalk all around it,
And you don't have to pay to operate it,
Right.
maintain it,
or replace it
or replace it.
in the future. So depending on how things fall, cost wise and grant money wise, there was also an additional thing, I didn't get a chance to talk about this, but this is good news as well.
Mhm.
Joe Duchar was in contact with the residuals management Bureau of the state. And if the town is a possibility that if the town is willing to build a septic receiving station that accepts septic from at least 3 towns, we can get an additional 10% funding grant from the state.
If we accept sewage from other towns.
Septic.
Septic.
So for example, if we accept the septic from Camden, Court and Ellsworth,
To be processed in our plant.
correct, because and it's a revenue source. So
Right.
not only would it be money up front
Right.
on the grant side, it would also create a revenue source. We'd have to build the facility to do that, but it would also become a revenue source that we could.
The towns do that, right? And
Oh,
it's for
absolutely.
revenue,
Plymouth, for example,
right?
one of the largest revenue sources is by taking sludge and drying, it, and then it just gets all off to the landfill. And it's not a bad method by any means, but it's something that's worth mentioning, that hopefully we can do that because.
And up at Whitefield, that was represented by people bringing trucks in and dumping stuff down the hole, right?
Correct,
And we saw that happen.
Yeah.
in that roll-off dumpster, you remember that roll-off
Mhm.
dumpster?
Mhm,
That would be the
end
dry sludge
result.
that was going out the landfill,
Mhm.
mhm.
so. There are some pieces of good news that are starting to roll out,
Mhm. But we could have septic disposal anyway for,
but we would have to regardless, because
Right.
people in town have septic tanks and,
right,
and for maintenance, of if we have a
Mhm.
blockage in a collection system, we need to be able to have a truck come in, clear it, and then discharge it somewhere. We can't just put it into our headworks and flood the building, for
Mhm.
example. But we would have to build it larger. in order
Right,
to
it'd be a
accommodate
whole
other towns,
operation,
Right.
the whole commercial
But
operation attached.
I spoke with Joe briefly this afternoon, and I mentioned to him, like, when we talk to the state, we need to let them know. They're down in Concord, they're not familiar with the way these septic haulers work. If someone's in Camden and Thornton, if they can line up a whole day, they're definitely would rather come to Waterville and go all the way down to Ashland and go to Plymouth. They have to drive to Meredith, for example, or go over to Sandwich or Holderness, for example. So there certainly is revenue to be made. And if we can
Wonderful.
show the state that it will work, then I think we should pursue. it.
Revenue or trade for solid waste.
We
facilities.
We can talk to them.
We'll take your septic, you take our solid waste.
Maybe.
Just a wild thought.
Well, the problem is it wouldn't be a town by town, it would be a person by person.
Oh,
So it'd just be like, we've been
Darn.
dealing with the septic haulers.
Yeah.
not
Oh, well.
towns and towns.
Yeah, we'll see.
Maybe
okay.
if we do drinking water quality, we can bottle it and we can
Sell it.
sell it like Purity Springs.
That would be.
Waterville Valley Poop Water.
They do that in Texas.
Uh,
That's huge in Texas reuse. They take their treated wastewater effluent and it's drinking water.
really
California as well. So,
surprising everything's so big in Texas.
yeah.
They got a lot of land. Okay, anything else on wastewater?
Nope.
We good?
From a recruitment standpoint,
Oh,
briefly, last week, I utilized Indeed's resume search tool. And I found 20 resumes in the general area that had water operator, wastewater, as keywords within. So I blasted out, 20 inquiries to those folks to see if they'd be interested in applying. I received 6 responses. All of which unfortunately were of no interest, but some did provide some commentary to why. I'm getting, a gentleman from Laconia said the gas prices right now wouldn't make sense for him to make the move up here. Another response was of, no interest, just location. They just put location on there, as a reason why. I have spoken with Sarah at the Valley Inn, and I spoke to Sean at Snowy Owl and the Golden Eagle as well as potential short-term employee housing to get some quotes from them to see what that would look like, and those are all pending, but when I get them, I'll share them with you to see what that model would look like. And what I asked for was midweek pricing, Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night scenario for a studio room with a kitchenette.
With the idea that somebody would go home on weekends.
Yeah, it'd be a part-time employee. We have one person potentially who's interested in a 3-day work week to help Dylan out, who has a lot of experience at the same plant.
Same plan my dad.
Same plant you did. So,
And I think you had asked for a discussion with us at some point about potential recruitment inducements.
Well, yeah, we wanted to get the numbers
Yeah.
from the lodges.
That was a
Yeah.
good effort to reach out with those 20 people or whatever. That sounds like a,
that's how I found Jason in the maintenance
Mm.
role, so I've had success with that in the past. But when I searched mechanic in the general area, I would have got a heck of a lot more hits than I did with wastewater or water operator for sure, but we'll see, fingers crossed.
Okay, anything else? We good on wastewater? Very good. So now, the main event, tax rate setting.
Oh, the good news continues as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, man, I'm worried now.
What?
I'm just a pessimistic guy.
so it's a 0.5%,
Effective.
a little less than 0.5%.
Effective,
Yeah, for what people are gonna see in terms of increases.
Yeah, and that's just borne out. Most of that is because of the state giving us additional money on the state education. I believe they had a one-time program. We've received the warrant for the 2023 state education tax. And it's back up to
So,
600.
because it was only a one-year deal,
It was a
right?
one-year deal.
Yeah,
So.
it's gonna bump up again.
So there's a $200,000 increase on the state education piece baked into
23.
So do we have to sign something on this? Or?
You
We need
just, the discussion, are you okay with, right now, we're using 231,000 in fund balance that was voted at town meeting. We're currently, without the end of year numbers from the revenues and the expenses side,
Mhm.
we're returning 41,000 that was unanticipated revenues
Right,
from the state. So, where fund balance has taken is gone down.
a couple 100,000.
Okay, but we have used it pretty substantially over the last 3 years.
Yeah.
So we've returned, $700,000 in undesignated fund balance towards reducing the tax rate over the last 3 years.
And
So,
I always have high hopes about how well you guys do against budget.
well, we'll see.
Yeah,
Don't count on too much this year. It's been.
but
a
it
bad
is,
year.
it is
Yeah, I know
noticeable.
with the
With
fuel
the
and electricity and, yeah.
It's been tough,
Yeah.
but, so we're on the low end, Bob, we try to keep it, we try to keep it in the 10% or higher range.
Yeah.
So we're down to 9.5, just a little short of 9.5 with this 41,000. But I would anticipate at least another 100 or 150 minimum between the revenues and the expenditures. So I'll say, I won't say I guarantee that, but it's gonna be probably around 100 at least.
Total,
So that would get us up to pushing the 10% retained.
Okay.
So
so we don't want to make any changes
I
to
don't
using
think you should put any
231,000.
additional, I don't think you should put any additional revenue in.
Into it.
Personally, I would not recommend doing that. We are allowing $10,000. Our actual overlay right now is 12,507. I don't know if you want to. It's not included on any of the
Yeah,
sheets,
okay.
but it's the number right now that gets us to this tax rate is an overlay of 12,507. You could increase that, it would increase the tax rate bottom line. But that would give us, that money is used for abatements. And having just gone through the reval, I don't think we're gonna have many successful abatement requests. But it could happen. I don't think that there's enough of a change in the numbers that we're looking at right now to really
Worry
throw
about
red
that.
flags for people, do you?
No.
Haven't heard a lot. I think we should go with the 1060.
1060, right?
What do you
Wow.
think?
Any-
Yeah.
I definitely don't think we should adjust it lower.
Right, no, definitely not lower. We'll take this 1 year.
That's basically what it takes, then I think we ought to go with that.
All right, and then let's play out the rest of the year in the budget and see where we end up with and fund balance and decide what we want to do with regard to fund balance in our budget discussions.
Just going into next year's budget and the CIP especially, you know, the increase in the interest rates. We may want to look at purchasing equipment versus leasing it and things like that.
Mhm.
I think we need to be a little more judicious in
Yeah.
borrowing.
Yeah.
But I think we have some flexibility too for the next 4 years before we get to 26. Because none of our wastewater treatment plant related expenses are gonna show up on the tax rate until
26.
26.
And then they will
Other
show
than the
up.
million that, well, that's right,
Yeah.
and then it's a big increase, but
Yeah.
if we do things over the next 4 years. Within the CIP, paying as much cash as we possibly can.
It'll take the pressure off
Then
of
it'll,
those.
then we. can
years going
stop in
forward, right.
26, 27, and we'll be in a good position, or put money away so that you can. Pay a portion of the debt service, because interest rates are positive for us now. And we could actually help taxpayers later on, but that's a
Or maybe both,
philosophical.
yeah.
How to balance those things.
Yeah.
All right,
So 1060 it is, we'll finalize that with the state today and probably have a tax bill.
for us to vote
warrant.
on.
I'll definitely have a warrant for you to sign. But if you take a vote so that we can put it in the minutes that you set the rate at 1060. Then we will have a warrant for you to sign. So we can get the bills in the mail.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and move to set the 2022 tax rate for Waterville Valley at $10.60 per thousand. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
It's probably worth mentioning, just in case people are watching, that after the reval, the tax rate that we had last year originally was $15.66 per thousand, and after the reval calculated out to $10.55 was the equivalent of what last year's was. So this is actually a 5 cent per thousand
Increase for the 2022 budget over the 2021
But you
Correct.
also
budget.
have to remember that your property values may
Change.
have changed.
changed.
Yes,
So your
So-
share of that, the pie, the size of the pie went
Mhm.
from $5,220,000 to $5,244,000. So that $24,000 difference is the actual difference in the amount of taxes that we're collecting. So
For 2022.
that's
right.
the
Yeah.
0.5% that Bob
Right.
referred to.
right.
Okay,
Good point, Margaret.
any other business?
I do not have anything. Think we're
Bob.
good.
Good,
How's the shed? Is the shed coming soon?
I don't know, I haven't talked to Brooke, she hasn't said anything to me.
Is the bacteria still in the pond?
I have this.
We haven't tested, we were waiting for kits to come in to do the test.
But was that helpful that we had that huge rainstorm?
So that's one thing I wanted to answer while you guys, so, yeah, definitely. So in that rain event, on the lagoons and in the raw sewage, we received over 700,000 gallons on it. So our typical daily flow is around 90,000 gallons a day. We got 700,000. So, yeah.
Yeah.
We had busy 3 days and a weekend.
I guess.
But yes, that flushed out corporate spawn as well as anything else could.
Yeah.
be.
See what they
We'll
replaced it
see
with.
what it replaced, got replaced with.
The
and,
ducks are
uh,
moving up, though. They're already migrating, so I noticed the lagoons and corporate spawn is not nearly as many ducks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's very good news. And as I recall, we asked the Conservation Commission to take up the issue and give us some recommendations as to what to do when they return, I guess, is the best way to put it.
Be lots of turkeys in there soon.
They're all over my property, that's for sure.
The
So,
cold plunge.
Go plunge.
oh, those type of turkeys, oh, sorry. So we have a regular meeting next Wednesday, but it's at 1:30, right? Did we agree to meet at
Wednesday,
30 or
the
two?
27th.
Let me double check. I just wanted to make sure.
1:30 was Tuesday.
I've got the 26th.
27th or-
No, wait, a minute, I'm sorry, the 27th. You're right, Margaret.
27th.
It's Thursday, the 27th at 1:30 is what I have.
Okay.
And that is our regularly scheduled meeting.
Yeah, I have it down at 1:30.
Well, we're gonna have, was Tim gonna come in the?
Yes,
Okay,
I have to talk to him. I didn't
Very
say
good.
Wednesday to him. I'll talk. to him.
all righty. If there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There's one thing I want, actually, I can still mention it. We don't